I saw him. I watched him breathe his last breath. My friend, my master, my precious Lord, he's gone. That's why I had to come back here. This was the last place that my brothers and I, and our wonderful Messiah, spent precious time together. This is where it took place. This is, for me, where I began to understand. All those things that he said, all those stories that he shared, all those parables, all those times that he spoke to me, they make sense now more than ever. My brother Andrew actually met Jesus first. He had been following John the Baptist, and he met Jesus through John. And of course Andrew wasn't going to leave me out of the circle. He came and he found me and he got my attention very quickly, and he said, "We have found the Messiah. You must come. You must meet him." I wasted no time. I came. Jesus, the moment that I walked up and he actually came toward me, he looked at me and he said, "You're Peter. You are the son of Jonah. But from this day forth, you will be called Cephas." It meant the rock. I didn't understand then, but I would later. Early one morning after my brother and I had been up fishing all night long, and we had just worked and worked and worked, and nothing. Our nets were completely empty. We were so tired, so wasted, so ready just to go home and lay down. Here came Jesus. Well, he decided he wanted to speak to some folks that were following him, so he asked if he could come out into our boat and if I would take him out a little way from the shore so that he could minister to the folks. And I said, "Sure, no problem." He came into my boat and I took him out and he ministered. Oh, he shared. It was really wonderful. And the moment that he was done, and it was obvious he was done, he turns and he looks at me. I expected him to say, "Okay, Peter, now you can take me back to shore." But he looked at me instead and he said, "Peter, cast your nets. Move out a little further and cast your nets into the depth." I looked at him and I said, "Master, listen, we've been up all night long. We've fished all night long. We've cast our nets again and again, and nothing. But nevertheless, Lord, at your word, we shall cast our nets yet again." And so we did. And the moment that the nets sank into the water, it was obvious. They were full of fish. The nets literally began to break. And we pulled and we pulled and we pulled. And we realized we're not going to be able to handle this alone. And so we yelled at some of our partners across the way, "Please, bring your boat quickly." And when they did, we began to put as many fish as we could into their boat, and as many as we could into our own. And both boats literally began to sink. I couldn't take it. I fell down, and I wrapped my arms around Jesus' knees, and I said to him, "Please, leave me. I am a sinful man." Then there was this time that Jesus told myself and several of the other fellows to get into a boat and go across to the other side of the lake. He was going to send the crowd away that had gathered that day to hear him minister then. He was going to send them away while we crossed the water. And so we did. When we got to the middle of the lake, it was almost as if it came out of nowhere. This huge storm of such great capacity hit us. Waves from every side, lightning, dark clouds. It was obvious to us that we were not going to be able to make it. The boat was taking on water. We were beginning to sink. We were absolutely afraid that we were all going to die. Then, as if that wasn't bad enough, one of the fellas screamed, "A ghost!" And we're like, "What? A ghost! Look! It's not bad enough that we're going to drown. This phantom is going to see to it that we are destroyed." And then we heard his voice. At least it sounded like him. He said, "Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid." Well, that wasn't good enough for me. I said, "Lord, if that's really you out there, bid me to come to you on the water." And amazingly, he said, "Come." I wasted no time. I stepped up and out of the boat, and I actually walked on the water. It was an absolutely amazing feeling, and I did great until I took my eyes off of him, and I started seeing these horrendous waves bashing around me, and this wind blowing so tremendously. And I looked as I remembered he was who I needed. "Lord, save me!" He reached and he just grabbed my hand and he pulled me up. Together, we walked back to the boat on the water. And the moment we got into the boat, as if by magic, the storm stopped. One day Jesus asked us what we had heard. People that were round and about, what are they calling me? Who are they referring to me as? Can you tell me? And we told him, of course, well, some of them say that you're John the Baptist. Some say that you're Elijah. Some say that you're Jeremiah or one of the other prophets. Lord, that's what they're saying. He looked at us and he said, "Tell me, who do you say that I am?" I looked him right in his eyes and I said, "You are the Christ, the Messiah, the ever-living Son of God." He smiled as he looked into my eyes and he said, "You are truly blessed, Peter, because flesh and blood has not revealed this unto you, but my Father which is in heaven." And then he continued by saying this. He said, "I give to you this knowledge, Peter, that upon this wonderful revelation, this rock, I will build my church. I called you Cephas when I met you, and this is what I was referring to," he said. "Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." Strangely enough, though, he then gave a command that we were to tell no one that we were aware of who he was. We could tell no one that he was Jesus, the Christ, the Messiah. No one. That information was so life-changing. And he said, "No, don't tell a soul." Not long after this, Jesus began to show us the importance of him needing to go into Jerusalem. He said, "Here are some things that are going to take place. I'm going to be battled, embattled, argued with, fussed at, made fun of. The leaders of that area are going to do their best to put me down. Ultimately, their goal is going to be to kill me. But I must allow it. I must let it take place." I stopped him. I did not care for the sound of that, not one little bit. I had come to love this man now, greater than even my own flesh and blood. So I looked at him and I said, "Lord, I will not allow this to take place." Those eyes that I was used to looking into, that were so full of love, suddenly looked at me in a different way. he said these words as he looked at me. Get thee behind me, Satan. You are a snare. You are a trap. You are not thinking with the mind of Almighty God. You are thinking only with the fleshly mind of man. I didn't know what to think. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't want to make him angry. You know, I had a habit of getting myself into trouble. And you could count on it every time I got myself into trouble. It was this thing, my mouth. I would open it and problems would come into existence. Well, there was another day that Jesus took myself and James and John, his brother, to this wonderful high mountain. And the moment that we got to the very top of the mountain, boom! Jesus was changed. It was amazing. His face began to shine like the sun, and his clothes were even brighter. They shined like the white light. Oh, we looked, and there was Moses and Elijah. They're with Jesus. I couldn't help it. I had to. I said, Lord, how about we build 3 tents? One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. This great cloud immediately engulfed us. Thunder began to roll out of the cloud, and then a voice greater than the thunder shouted out and said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. We hit the ground. We buried our faces into the dirt, and we dared not look up. I don't know how long we were there, but suddenly I remember the tap on my back, and those wonderful, sweet words coming from his mouth. Peter, it's okay. Be of good cheer. You're safe. I'm here. You know, I understand what it means to allow the Lord to be that kind of a blessing. But I got to the point where very quickly I hushed. And I said, I must allow you, Lord, to help me control this urge that I have to constantly speak about you and against you. It seems, Lord, that when I want to bless you, when I want to help you, when I want to love you, I find myself as if I'm in reverse. Help me, Lord. He told us to stand to our feet. We came down from the mountain, but on the way down, he looked at us and he said, let me tell you something, fellas. Remember I told you not to share with anyone that I was the Christ? Yeah, we remember that, Lord. Well, I need you to understand this. You can't tell a soul about what you saw here today. No one. Peter, he said, are you listening to me? Yes, sir. Tell no one until I have died. After I have died, you may share this information. Which brings me to this place. We sat down here at this table. We supped together, all 12 of us. Jesus, of course, with us. After we finished with our meal, Jesus stood up. He took off his outer robe and he grabbed this towel. This towel that you see now as completely nasty and dirty, because what he did was he took this towel and he wrapped it against his waist, and then he poured water into a basin. And he started at this end of the table, and he began to wash the feet of each of my brothers. I sat there in absolute disgust. Not at the dirt that was getting on the towel, but the fact that